Good morning. So when forecasters say that a hurricane is going to be a storm surge event, I think people here now realize that that can be worse than any wind event or rain event.
Yep.
Because of the damage that the Bay Area has suffered as a result of Hurricane Helene. It's estimated this was the worst hurricane since the no-name storm of 1921 for our area. Now, it may have been more than 100 miles offshore, but the storm surge was higher than 7 feet. That was a record for the last 100 years. So that caused massive flooding in numerous locations throughout the Bay Area. 11 people killed overall, 2 in Tampa, 9 in Pinellas County, which suffered most of the deaths from the storm surge that went through that area, which, of course, is, a peninsula, very vulnerable, and a lot of the beaches are closed because of the damage. Pinellas schools were closed Friday, but they are reopening today except for 3. Lealman Innovation, Osceola Fundamental, and Walsingham Elementary School. Some 2,000 kids will be temporarily relocated. Places like Anna Maria Island in Manatee County and other coastal communities remain off limits to most people because of the widespread damage. And really, today will be probably the biggest day for assessment of the damage because, we're back to a normal work week. And once daylight comes, they'll be able to get a lot of the work crews in there. And some people will be able to return to places that have been closed off because of the damage.
I was, and we covered this storm from the moment it became something that we needed to pay attention to here in the state of Florida. I was surprised at the extent of the storm surge and the flooding. Just here in our building in Feather Sound.
Yeah.
We're in a flood zone. I don't know. I didn't expect cars to get flooded out like they did.
Yeah, because it's so strange to think about where did all that water come from? Like, how did it end up all in our parking lot? If you just look at the landscape of everything around the building, it just doesn't make any sense how all that water got here.
Well, it came from the bay.
Well, I know that, but it's just hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
Like, you just think that area is safe because you can't imagine the water coming up that high.
Right.
And I'm surprised and shocked. It's stunning to look at all the pictures and videos and to know what happened. At the same time, I had a bad feeling about this one. I don't know what it is, but most of the time we're usually like, whatever. But I feel like we've had that too many times, and I had a bad feeling about this one.
It's because I think a lot of it had to do with the fact the storm was so far off the coast, and the wind speeds were never really going to get to hurricane force sustained winds, maybe some gusts and things like that. And the storm surge numbers, 5 to 8 feet. I just think the maps, the 5 to 8 feet of storm surge, it's not painting the picture for people in advance of these storms because there were just too many who were caught off guard, including, obviously some of us James's vehicle got flooded. So, and this is what we do. We do hurricane coverage. Aaron Jacobson's vehicle got flooded. We had cars here that got flooded. And I think that took everybody by surprise. I was talking to friends of mine, their house, total loss. And they did some of the preparation that likely saved a lot of their stuff in terms of putting things in the attic. One of my friends put stuff in his boat in the garage.
That's a good idea.
It was a really good idea, and it saved a lot of stuff. But the house is a loss. And, he's in a flood zone, a zone A. But, again, nothing like this before.
Yeah, a lot of the places, even though they're in zone A, they've never flooded before.
Yeah.
But this time they did.
Right.
Well, what's disturbing is that this was a 7-foot storm surge in Tampa Bay. And imagine a 15-foot storm surge like they got up in the Big Bend area.
Yeah, catastrophic.
So, this was not a direct hit.
No.
Not even close. And yet we suffered just tremendous damage. And it's obviously a warning sign for folks who are in those flooded zone areas because clearly they're vulnerable. And when you have a significant storm like this, it ended up being a Category 4, very powerful. Being on the dirty side, the northeast quadrant side, just puts us in a very, very vulnerable position.
Had you ever seen anything like the cars that got sanded in?
No, I had never seen anything like that. And I don't know if that happened after Hurricane Ian down in Fort Myers on the beaches, but I had never seen anything like that. And just looking at those pictures, and then, I mean, all of the roads on the beaches were under 6 feet of sand. And then to just see those cars just stuck there.
Right.
You know, Clearwater Beach is such a great beach because it's huge.
Yeah.
It has so much sand, and it covers just a really wide area. It's great. But unfortunately, where does that sand go when you have a massive storm surge? Well, it went right into the streets, into the buildings, and into cars. I mean, it's a real mess. They're working on cleaning it up, and it's going to take a long time just because of how much sand has been displaced as a result of the storm surge.
I'm just stunned this morning at the extent of the destruction and what we're seeing from other states.
Oh, yeah. I was watching some of the videos and stuff coming out of Asheville, North Carolina, which is such a beautiful town that people love to go and visit. And then parts of Tennessee, just watching the videos of the waters just rising and rushing through people's homes.
Biblical flooding is what they're called.
Yeah. And now that the water's receded some, it's like the entire town is just like wood and rubble. It's horrifying.
Wiped off the map.
Yeah, and I feel like at least here we have so much destruction, but we still have our infrastructure and ways to get help to people who need it. They're so cut off that there are people that are just stranded with no food, no water, and no communication, and they don't even know what the death toll is yet.
Yeah, the effects are still going on. They have landslides that continue to happen and can happen at any time, and they still haven't found all the people who are missing. There's still several hundred people reported missing at this point, and a lot of them are in areas that are just difficult to access. So the death toll is expected to certainly rise before it's over.
It's been hard to get cell service, too. I mean, that's the main way people are able to communicate, but the cell towers are all knocked out.
Right. Helene, that name's going to be retired forever, I think.
Absolutely.
What we're seeing.
Definitely.
Just no question.
Category 4, the worst storm to ever hit the Big Bend in Florida history.
Yep.
And it's just, it's just a tragedy for the Southeast.
Yeah, it really is.
So the Buccaneers bounce back from a lackluster performance against Denver by crushing Philadelphia 33-16 at Ray J. Baker Mayfield 30-47 for 347 yards, 2 TDs, and a rushing TD. And Mike Evans caught 8 passes for 94 yards and a score. So in 2 games against their former playoff teams last year, the Bucs are 2-0. They beat the Detroit Lions earlier, and now they've beaten the Eagles, who just cannot seem to do anything against Tampa Bay.
No, the Bucs have their number, that's for sure. There was maybe one part of the game where it looked like, all right, maybe the Eagles are going to make a bit of a run here, and that didn't last long, and the Bucs just dominated that game. There was something that took place during the broadcast that I thought was really interesting. You had Kevin Burkhardt, who was calling the game with Tom Brady, and he brought up this quote from Baker Mayfield. Listen to him describing what Baker Mayfield had to say and then Tom Brady's reaction.
Said, quote, "They wanted me to come in, be myself, bring the joy back to football for guys who weren't having as much fun." It's funny because you've made this environment for me very stressful up here in the booth, so I understand where he's coming from.
Do you feel it?
No.
Feel the stress? No. Well, I was going to say, I thought stressful was not having Super Bowl rings. So there was a mindset of a champion that I took to work every day. This wasn't daycare. If I wanted to have fun, I was going to go to Disneyland with my kids.
That was quite a comeback.
Yeah, so you can tell he wasn't thrilled with those comments.
Well, I don't see how you can really complain about anything with Tom Brady. His first year, he wins the Super Bowl and then back-to-back division titles.
Well, what do you want? Do you want to just, have a good time, or do you want to win?
Yeah, is that why you don't have any fun, Ryan? Because you just want to win and be great on the radio? No fun? All
no
right.
fun. I mean, go back and watch. Did you ever see The Last Dance on Michael Jordan and the Bulls?
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of fun there. I mean, it was stressful, but they won. I mean, that's what it takes.
Steve Kerr got punched in the nose. Yeah. It's one of these things where, look, Tom Brady, you want to play with this guy, you better be ready to show up with your A game. Yep. He's not going to put up with any, second-rate efforts.
No.
I don't know if that's what you were getting from Baker Mayfield, but look, who wants to be the backup quarterback to Tom Brady, right? So, that obviously wasn't the best thing. But, look, he has come in and I think has done a great job for the Bucs. But talking about the GOAT, you probably ought to just, let it go.
Yeah, go win some rings first.
Let it go.
And then we'll talk later. All right, we've got one more story that we have to get to this one.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane.
So a suspected drunk woman who crashed into a barrier wall on I-4 grabbed a Florida Highway Patrol trooper. Didn't shake his hand, didn't give him the high five, but grabbed his crotch and bit his leg. 25-year-old Tishera Williams of Largo, traveling westbound, approaching the I-275 interchange, lost control and hit the wall. And troopers said she was impaired, and while being arrested, she just went after him. Pretty ballsy move, if you ask me.
You were sitting on that one.
And then had to be physically restrained.
On that note, Chris Streichman with today's top stories. Chris, thanks so much.
Thank you.